Welcome to Market Matters. I'm Nadia Hassan together with Sulhi Azman. Companies in the news is one that, I don't know, I think I have a secret crush on SapuraKencana, or maybe their CEO. He's very, very charming. But anyways, besides that, SapuraKencana down about 0.47%. We can pretty much call that flat to RM2.13. The share price actually had a really strong rebound, around 40%, 45% since mid-August. Essentially, the levels you're seeing now is not as bad as it was when it became clear that oil was not going to go anywhere. And what happened today to actually, well, it didn't really affect them, but it was good news for them anyways in terms of business. Bagged 2 contracts. They secured extension of an existing one worth a tidy sum of $72 million or 300 million, given that the ringgit now is a lot lower.
Yes, correct. And the 3 contracts are one in Malaysia, one in India, and also the Ivory Coast in Africa. The Malaysian part, right, they actually get the contracts from the Rock Oil Sarawak Sdn Bhd for drilling and simultaneous productions. And for India, they want to install structures and pipelines for an undertake subsea work at the Arabian Sea, which is scheduled to be completed in March 2016.
Okay, so if you actually look at the top line of SapuraKencana, obviously they make billions, 300 million in a way is not that much to them. Yeah. But the fact that the share price didn't react at all makes me think that people still do not have faith in oil and gas stocks. So we were talking about being a property bear. I think oil and gas is one of those things you're going to find it really, really hard to love.
Yeah, I mean, the price has actually fallen by 40% to now hovering between 45 to 50 US dollar per barrel. It's not that exciting anymore.
Yeah, actually, if you want to believe the naysayers, they say and it's really funny, I was reading up on this, $50 per barrel, you'll have to get used to that. That's basically, the people are saying that's going to be the level for a very, very, very long time. And if you want it, I think it was Goldman Sachs who actually said that you're going to see the same kind of levels up until the end of this century.
Yes,
which is still another like 5 years. Well, now it's 4 years to go.
4 years, yes, correct.
So I don't know. I think you can have I think the company is still fairly solid. I mean, you believe that, don't you?
I do believe in the company. It's very solid, and I do also believe in the charming guy that you mentioned, Tan Sri Samsudin.
Well, he's more than charming. He's actually a pretty good businessman.
He is a very good businessman, correct. And and I think the company is they can still withstand this despite the volatile oil prices, right? They still manage to get oil and gas contracts, which shows that they are actually there's still demand for this.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing for them. For the big thing for SapKencana is that I think it is the fact that they can weather the storm. It's easy to weather the storm when you're the biggest guy in the room. So yeah, I think the fact that that nobody moved on the contracts, I think that's a bigger tell. But if you looked at them, they still have been bagging.
Yes, correct. And if you look at the earnings as well, the earnings are actually quite good. Even
the top line is, the bottom is quite
the bottom
terrible.
is a bit impacted, but I think
it's not a big impact. It's 77%.
But I think this is in line with the oil and gas trends.
Well, we'll have to see how it goes. But anyway, just to wrap it up for you, we're looking at SapuraKencana today. They are the biggest oil and gas player, one of the biggest actually in the country, at least the ones that are listed. They bagged 2 new contracts, good for them, worth $72 million or 300 million ringgit, and all of that in a way that shows that they're quite good is that only one of those is in Malaysia, the other one's in India, and the other one's in Ivory Coast. However, I think oil prices are still going to weigh. It's still going to be a really, really tough thing for them, especially when people say $50 oil. That's what we have to get used to.
Correct.
Moving on to our broker's call for today, we are looking at Wah Seong. This is courtesy of Public Invest and Kenanga Research. What did the share price do today?
Well, the share price closed up 2.91% to RM1.06, and it has actually, over the years, dropped by 41% since early June. And this was, as you mentioned, just following from the SapuraKencana, it has exposure to the oil and gas sectors.
Yeah, and you can see that in the earnings. We'll talk about that a little bit later because you can see the graph a little bit later. But the fact is, it had received most recently a $39.5 million US dollar coating project for Johan Sverdrup export. I know I'm saying that wrong. I am for Statoil ASA Norway. I can't see European names. The contract is expected to commence in the 4th quarter of next year and completed by mid-2017. We were talking about actually still having contracts, so these guys still are chugging along.
Definitely. If you look at the order book, right, it's actually 974 million ringgit, which is just shy of 1 billion ringgit. And today, Kenanga Research, right, they actually issued a report saying that the company is still underperformed with a lower target price of
so they don't actually believe in it.
They are very pessimistic as they anticipate the EBIT, the margins for a project to be thin, probably below 10% as compared to above 15% during good times, when the oil is actually at its peak.
Yeah, well, again, related to what we said earlier, SapKencana, $50 oil, I think that's what you have to get used to until the end of the century. But Public Invest, they're slightly more positive, as in they aren't actually underperformed, but they are neutral. That means, hold your horses and wait and see. Target price is 1 ringgit and 6. They believe Wah Seong could replenish jobs, and I think, as we were mentioning with SapuraKencana, that's the big thing. You have to keep replenishing the jobs, even though the whole industry in general is so tough. And, although, albeit that Wah Seong has this 5 billion tender book, the timeline of what's going forward, however, cannot be determined. That's why they're a bit iffy on it. And they say that because of a lot of people delaying projects, that could be a big one for them too.
Yes.
But if you look at the earnings in general, look at this drop.
It's very dismal.
Yeah, 30.3 million for last year, right down to 3 million, 90.1% down. I mean, what do you feel? What do you feel about it, Sulhi?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential in the company if you look by the order book. But if you are looking for the financial numbers, and it might not be exciting anymore because a lot of impairment has to be done, especially on the oil and gas assets.
Well, we'll have to see. The analysts definitely are not as. They're definitely just holding their horses at the moment. I'll be curious to see what these kind of guys will say tomorrow for SapKencana. Will they say almost the same thing? Will they say, yes, at the same time, we do think that you have a good relationship, but it's still going to, be tough going forward. But just talking about going forward, because we are running out of time, just to wrap it up, we are looking at today's broker's call for Wah Seong. We are looking at Public Invest and Kenanga Research. Public Invest has a neutral on the stock with 106, and Kenanga has underperformed with 80 cent, which is quite a drop considering that their current share price is about 106. But of course, as mentioned with SapKencana, it's going to be tough for them because we are looking at an environment of basically $50 oil. That's what people are saying to the end of the century. So that's one of the things we have to look at when we are looking at job replenishment. But that's all that we have today. I'm Nadia Hassan together with Sulhi Azman. If you want more on the stories we talked about, there's theedgemarkets.com. And of course, you can pick up a physical copy of the Edge Financial Daily or the Edge Financial Weekly. Good night, guys. Have a good week. We'll be seeing you throughout the week. Keep safe.